privileges. So before we start, just let's have
No
a
problem.
quick look on those a small video which has been created by our students and our Mega HR Club of this. So just stay tuned and enjoy.
For me, HR means managing and selecting the right people at right time in the right place.
HR means a bridge in the organization.
For me, ICHR is stepping stone and the outreach in organization.
Location and art flexibility.
This manual for the creative.
Lean system.
Change management,
Artificial intelligence.
Agile practices.
I would look for a safe, supportive, and a positive working environment, which will always make me motivated to put in more effort.
My expectation from my future employee would be that they always motivate so that I can become my best self.
I expect my future lawyer to reward all the hard work that I put.
I expect a healthy and positive working environment from future employees.
Probably 3 to 5 years. Yes, 2 years, but not more than 2 years.
I will be updated through online courses and social media content.
On-the-job training will be quite beneficial for my career progression.
It's like technology. We have to put something.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the video. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce you to today's workshop on the theme AI technology and future of work, impact on HR. We have an eminent facilitator, Mr. Atish Bhattacharya, Deputy General Manager, Human Resources, Greenlam Industry Limited, who brings a lot of expertise to this particular area. Today, we are divided by circumstances but united by this digital workshop which is being conducted by KIIT School of Management, KIIT deemed to be university. KIIT was established in the year 1992 and is a multidisciplinary university with student strength of nearly 30,000 from all over India and 55 countries across the globe. KIIT has been ranked #1 among self-financing institutions of the country in the Atal Ranking of Institution on Innovation Achievements 2020 of Ministry of HRD under the Government of India. It is amongst the top 20 institutions in India to have received the Institution of Eminence status from the Ministry of HRD. KIIT, along with its sister university, Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences, was first exclusive fully free tribal university for 50,000 tribal children were founded by Professor Dr. Achyuta Samanta, Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha. Professor Samanta, a visionary social architect, embarked on a social development mission in 1992-93 using education as the strategic medium to eradicate poverty, a goal which is envisaged by the global leaders as Sustainable Development Goal. He has been conferred with 37 honoris causa doctorate awards from different universities across the globe. He has also been decorated with prestigious civilian awards from many countries, including the Gandhi Mandela Peace Award 2019, besides over 50 national and international and over 200 state honors and accolades. KIIT School of Management has 27 years of glorious academic excellence, providing industry-focused management education. Its 32nd rank in the National Institutional Ranking Framework, Ministry of HRD and Best B School of Odisha, awarded by the Times of India Group, is a testimony to its commitment towards academic excellence. Spread over an area of 35 acres, the institution houses more than 1,000 students across 3 courses, BBA, MBA and doctoral program in management. Today we have with us Professor Dr. Shikta Singh, the host of the session. Professor Shikta Singh is presently working as an associate professor in the area of finance and economics at KIIT School of Management. She brings with her more than 10 years of teaching experience. Few of her impeccable work includes presenting 2 research projects for the Reserve Bank of India, delivering various papers across different international conferences. She has also launched around 20 research papers of both national and international repute. She believes in the ideology that education is the most powerful weapon that can eradicate a lot of problems being faced today. Her current research interest lies in various macroeconomic issues, the area of economic development, industrial economics, corporate social responsibilities, behavioral finance, etc. For her, teaching is not just her profession, but also her passion and vocation. Ma'am, I would now request you to kindly take over the session to introduce to us our guest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prachi. Indeed, it was not actually needed for such an introduction. Thank you, Mr. Atish Bhattacharya, for accepting our invitation on behalf of KIT School of Management and on behalf of our director, sir, and all the faculty members. I would thank you to be a part of our 2 day of conclave. I hope our screen is visible.
Yeah.
So as we know that the theme of this conclave of today's workshop is AI technology and future of work. But before that, I would very much like to welcome you, sir. So Mr. Atish Bhattacharya has having more than 16 years of HR experience with a passion to keep learning continually. He has worked with industry leaders, organizations like Larsen & Toubro, Voltas Limited, Samsung India Electronics Private Limited, and Bharti Infratel Limited at multiple organizations as well as location in Chennai, Mumbai, NCR. He has specialized in the area of HR business partnering, talent management, talent acquisitions, campus recruitment, and engagement function. He is a postgraduate certification in human resource from XLRI Jamshedpur and MBA from HR from the University of Pune. I must say that Mr. Atish has been recognized as the India's top 100 emerging leaders in 2019 by some HR in April 2019. So I welcome you, sir, and I once again give you my in terms of accepting our invitation and joining us over here. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Professor Sikta, and for the lovely introduction. In fact, it's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Prachi, for getting me introduced to KIIT. In fact, I have been in touch with your institution for quite a while, and we intended to visit this year for the campus, but unfortunately, because of this pandemic, I think we will have to connect virtually and take it forward. So I understand this institute has produced some great leaders. I personally have been witness to it because I had interviewed and met a couple of students. So must appreciate the great work that you guys are doing. So keep it up. Great. So thank you very much. And it's a great honor indeed to be present here with all the students. It takes me back 16 years in my career. Okay. So I also started as a MBA from one of the institutes in India, and in fact was like you 16 years back. So it feels great and feels nostalgic, in fact. So that's the reason I love interacting with the students, and as much as I want to contribute, so probably the one thing which gets me connected is, of course, I want to keep learning continuously. Okay, great. So I think this is a very interesting topic. So interestingly brought about by KIIT, and this is a brilliant concept of having an online or a virtual HR conclave. So this also gives us opportunity to do things from wherever and we are based out of. Right. So before we move in to the subject, I want a couple of ground rules. So one is please keep your videos on, because that's the only way I can see you. Otherwise, it looks like I'm looking at a blackboard or a screen and speaking. Number two is please unmute and speak, because I don't want this session to be a monologue. I want it to be very, very interactive. It's for you. So you will have to speak up and share your thoughts, views, suggestions, ideas. Otherwise, it's going to be a one-way dialogue. I will give my gyan for 1.5 hours and go back. So please feel free, contribute and speak your mind out, because I think there's no right and wrong. Okay, so whatever you say probably will add value to this entire session. Number three is, so how we have structured this session is probably I will introduce you to this subject. Okay, we will do a couple of polls in between, and then at the end of the session, I have in fact Professor Sikta had suggested to have a GD. So I have actually figured out a couple of subjects. So we would want you people to break up into groups, and then we can have some group discussions and exchange of ideas. So I think that will be a good idea to hear from you also what is your thoughts and understanding of the subject, rather than me only speaking. Okay, so before we move on, I just want to understand, all of you would have heard about this subject, AI, machine learning, deep learning, world of internet, and all those things. So we have come across a lot of jargons. So I want you to write. Okay, so I'm showing you a Mentimeter screen. All of you can see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So what I want all of you to do is please go onto your phones, type menti.com and use this code to put whatever buzzwords come to your mind. In fact, that will help me to understand what is your understanding of this topic, how much do you know about it, or so anything which comes to your mind related to this subject, please put it. 1 word, 2 words, 3 words, 4 words, whatever it is. So we will have everybody on this common platform and common page then. So any buzz, because this is the most happening talk of the town these days, AI and machine learning. Right. Are you guys able to get on to Menti?
So can you repeat the website name?
Yeah, it is written on the top. If you can, if you look at my screen, it's written www.menti.com. Use this code to put whatever comes to your mind or whatever you have heard about AI or ML. Okay, great. Machine learning, machine intelligence.
Responses quickly, guys. Rest of you.
No, take your time. Take your time. So this is all yours. Don't worry. Okay. Cyber job will go. Chatbots, reduced workload, things will get automated. Great, great. I think some great inputs. Please keep contributing. New inventions, cyber security, digitalization, reduced workloads, globalization, talent acquisition, great. Big data, perfect. Reduced human efforts, great. Teaching machines. I don't know what teaching machine means, but I would want to hear. Great. So let's stop it here. So 2-3 things that are clearly coming out. If you look at the screen, one is automation. So I think automation is the key. That's the outcome of ML and AI. It also talks about digital intelligence. Systems are becoming intelligent enough to think on their own. Simplification, efficiency, yes. Of course, it's bringing about a lot of efficiency. So I'm stopping the screen. I think you guys have fair idea about what this entire subject means. So great. Can you all see me now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sikta, why don't you put on the presentation, please?
Yes.
Great. So I think some great inputs, and this is the way forward, guys. And thanks to this COVID, in fact, it has fast forwarded the things which were supposed to happen in a couple of years' time. So I think it has brought to a helm of time wherein we all have already felt the need of this kind of digitalization or the need of ML or AI in our day-to-day life. Okay. Yeah. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Yeah,
So
yes,
this is a quote which is very close to my heart. Okay, shared once by Jack Welch. Okay, so it says that if the rate of change outside exceeds the rate of change inside, then the end is near. So this means this talks about the VUCA world that we all are living in. Right. So before I take you through this slide, how many of you have heard about this terminology, Industry 4.0 or Business 4.0? Have you all
yeah,
heard
yes, sir.
this? So what do you mean by Industry 4.0 or a Business 4.0? Let me hear a couple of you.
So it's total automation of things. Automation.
It's the fourth generation of the industry and technological field.
Great, great.
So our industry is heading towards more digitalization than menopause.
Right. So let me take you 3 steps behind. Okay. So can anybody tell me what was Industry 1.0 revolution? So the first industry revolution, it was held between 1760 to 1840. And this was the time when we actually saw inventions of something like a steam engine or factories coming into place.
Yeah, hello.
So from the year 1980 to 1940, 1914 in fact. So this was the time when mass production started across the countries. Okay, so there was a lot of steel which was getting produced. There were a lot of commodities which were getting produced. So all the factories that got established in the first industrial revolution started producing things. So this was the time when a lot of employment was generated. So that's why if you go and see all the statutes that we have in India, for example, the Factories Act, these all refer to Factories Act 1942 or Bonus Act 1923, because this was the time when people were getting employment in the factories that were into existence. The third industrial revolution came somewhere in the era of 1950 to 1970, and this is when the entire concept of digital revolution started. So this was the time when the computers were introduced first time, and people started talking about digital. And now we are talking about the fourth industrial revolution, which typically started from 2011 onwards, wherein we started getting introduced to these concepts of ML, deep learning, world of internet, and all those stuffs. So India and the entire world has seen these four industrial revolutions. This is all how it started. Right, perfect. So some of the benefits out of this. So one is it has created exponential value. Okay, so all the big data, the IoT, AI things have created a lot of new opportunities, in fact. So now everything is available in a click of a button. We never could have thought of platforms like Amazon or a Flipkart delivering everything, starting from a grocery to whatever you need at your doorstep. This has also led to a mass personalization. In fact, personalization would mean that if you go and flip or search of something on the Amazon platform, the next moment it will, out of intuitive intelligence that goes behind, it will start suggesting you things which are related to it. So for example, if you're trying to find a mobile phone on the Amazon platform, automatically it will suggest you for earpiece or suggest you accessories related to the mobile phone that you're likely to purchase. Or it will also, based on your last shopped history, it will start promoting things which could be additionally used along with the things that you've purchased. This also helped us in leveraging the ecosystem. Okay, so if you come across something like a crowdsourcing, how many of you know about the crowdsourcing? What is crowdsourcing, if somebody can share? Any idea what is crowdsourcing? Guys, anybody? Gaurav, you want to speak? What is crowdsourcing? So
basically getting input from large number of people.
Yeah, so I'll give you an hint. So Uber runs on a crowdsourcing platform or a model. Similarly, Airbnb runs on a crowdsourcing model. So crowdsourcing typically means that where individuals and organizations come together and collaborate, okay, and provide services to each other. Okay, so this is like Uber or Ola doesn't own any of their cabs. Okay, yet they are providing services to across people. Okay, so crowdsourcing is the next big term which is happening, wherein people, organization, individuals are all coming together to obtain goods and services from each other. Right. I think this is one good subject that you would want to go back and study about crowdsourcing. Great. So I will keep flickering between my presentation and these chit chats because I think that will help. Okay. The most important outcome of all these things is this has embraced us to take more risk. Okay. So now I think we are more prone to take larger risk. People are getting or plunging themselves into new entrepreneurial ventures. So this is actually the way this entire business 4.0 is evolving. Now coming to the basics, I think this is all of you know. So I would not want to show this slide. Rather, I would want to understand in a conversation from all of you. So what is your understanding of machine learning, artificial intelligence, and deep learning? Any idea, clue? What is artificial intelligence? What does it mean actually? Yeah, so over to you guys.
So, good morning.
Yeah, Mo, please go ahead.
For me, actually, from what I've understood, machine learning is where we give large sets of data to the computer and we teach the computer to understand and recognize patterns from that data. And the above level of that machine learning in AI, we try to give that human element. If we add that human element to machine learning, we get that artificial intelligence.
Great. Good attempt. So basically, artificial intelligence run on human intelligence. So it works similar to the human intelligence, while a machine learning runs on the algorithms. Okay, so I think whatever you feed it to the machine, it runs. So if you look at a normal way, so machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. In a broader perspective, artificial intelligence means you will prepare the computer or the system to think like you, while in a machine learning, you actually tutor it by providing some algorithms at the back end. So guys, I know this is a challenge of this virtual sessions that something or the other will keep going wrong, but we will have to bear with it. Okay, so this is how it all looks. So at the center of the things is deep learning, followed by machine learning and artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, like I basically mentioned, is the machines demonstrate human intelligence, or they perform things which are simple to complex. While in a machine learning, they actually understand from the behaviors, and they perform the way they are programmed. Okay, moving on. So how it is impacting the HR? I think these are some of the things that you would hear once you if at all you want to get into HR jobs. So these are the way it is impacting the HR jobs and the HR folks. So one is a lot of self-service technologies, or employee self-service, or manager self-service options have become available. Now, as an employee, I work for XYZ organization. I have everything digitally available on my phone. Okay, so on one tap of a button, I can apply for my leave. I can punch in, punch out my attendance. I can actually go and put my all travel related claims through my employee self-service. My manager has access to these workflows that I'm raising. So manager can also go approve my leave. In fact, we have reached to a stage wherein we are doing the appraisals on the hand phones. Okay, so people can actually put their appraisals through their hand phones, and the managers can have a look on the go and approve it. There are organizations that I'm aware of. So if you start studying about this particular thing, the employee self-service or the manager self-service, so organizations like Asian Paints or a Pidilite, they have models wherein the sales guy would go to a dealer distributor point, and there is a barcode, like you have those Paytm barcodes. The Asian Paint guy will click on that barcode. So for example, the Asian Paint guy has to visit 4 such dealers. So he will go to each of these counters and pick those barcodes, and his travel claim automatically gets calculated based on the distance he has traveled through GPS, and automatically that same particular amount gets credited to his account. So this is how AI and machine learnings are helping our lives. The next most important thing is adoption of AI in our day-to-day life. So far the HR folks have been very resistant while adopting, because there was a fear that we might lose our jobs. But I think the fear is slowly fading away. So AI or ML is not going to kill the jobs. It is going to help us become more efficient. There are going to be specialized skills, or you need to have specialized tech skills to be using these particular technologies. The overall work redesign is undergoing a change. In fact, if a work was supposed to be done in a X way, now there are ways and means which are being looked at to do that particular job. So what it also means is the entire focus is on the productivity, the entire focus is on the efficiency, and the entire focus is at the job to do it more in a better way, in fact, so to say. HCM solutions are coming into place. HCM means human capital management. So we call it as HR softwares. So these are the softwares based on which the entire life cycle of an employee runs. Okay, so there are, how many of you have heard about a software called SuccessFactors, or a Oracle, or a PeopleSoft, or a PeopleStrong? Has anybody heard about any of the HR softwares? Have you guys heard about any HR softwares that is being used in the organizations?
Sir, IBM Watson.
IBM Watson is a bot that
IBM.
So
PeopleSoft I've also heard, sir.
Which one? PeopleSoft, right?
Yeah.
So basically, HR ERPs are platforms which HR folks are using to maintain or manage the life cycle of the employees within the organization. So how it looks like is, typically once you're a candidate, okay, you would have seen the way if you go and apply for some of the jobs on LinkedIn, so it will straight away take you to the company's website or the career side of the company. There you will have to fill some mandatory data, which would be your date of birth, your basic qualification, okay, your percentages of marks, your institute names, and you will submit with your resume. These data flows into the system of the HR, and tomorrow if they have to interview you, so they will only go and on a click of the button, they will review your CV. And we are actually currently like using a platform called Darwinbox. So wherein I can actually look at the data of all the people who have submitted their resumes on my career site and can schedule the interviews virtually. Okay, so just by clicking, I can actually send a message to you that Gaurav, your CV has been shortlisted. We would want to meet you for a face-to-face interview. Here is the office GPS location. So there would be a message which will go on your mobile phone with the GPS location of our office. You just need to click that button and your Google map will start. You will be brought to our office. So this is how it is working for all of us now in HR. So once you appear in for the interview, I actually, the hiring manager or the HR actually put all their comments on the system itself. There is no manual interventions. Okay, so gone are those days when we actually take the printout of the interview assessment sheet and get it filled. So we will ask the hiring manager to put all the assessment or the recommendation about Gaurav, Rohit or Amok on the system itself. And if you are selected, so you just need to press a button selected and it flows on to the HR team for the approval. So it comes to the HR team. We just see that whether the candidate actually fulfills the basic criteria. And if the candidate fulfills the basic criteria, on a press of a button, we release the offer to the candidate. Okay, so this is all automated. You see, from applying as a candidate to the release of offer. Now, once the offer is released to the candidate would get a notification in his or her email. The candidate will have to go and click that button and accept the offer. So once you accept the offer in your system, we get a notification that Gaurav or Prachi has accepted the offer. And thereafter, the onboarding team starts their onboarding. So now onboarding team, on a click of a button every week, will start sending you some material or the other related to HR. Okay, and closer to your date or 7 days before you're joining, you will get all your joining forms. In fact, now because of this COVID situation, all 7 days before you're joining, you will have all the joining forms into your email account. All you need to do is fill up those forms and email it back to us. And on the day of onboarding, with one press of a button, we convert you from a candidate to an employee. So this is how the transition has happened. You see, talent acquisition head who was doing the final offer release. There was a HR head who was actually signing your appointment or offer letter. There was a HR of operations guy who was actually getting you all the forms filled, your PF, ESIC, gratuity, or the joining dockets filled through you. The fifth person was your training manager who was giving you induction. And the sixth was the HR operations manager who was creating your employee code or an email ID or the mobile signatures or the email signatures in your email. Now you have actually reduced the job of these 6 people if you follow this particular mechanism. So this is how AI and machine learning or the automation is adding value to us. Now the entire life cycle, like I mentioned, is automated. Now once you become an employee, so we have a probation in place. We have a system wherein you would have heard about this term probation. Have you heard about this term probation? So anybody who is working,
yes, sir.
So I will take all.
Yes, sir. Probation period, sir. I know, sir.
So every organization has a probation period. So probation period is to assess whether the performance of the individual who has joined the organization is up to the desired level or not. So when you are closer, we have a probation period of 3 months. So for example, Gaurav has joined us in the month of January. So closer to his confirmation date in April, 1st of April, the system will auto trigger an email to his manager and Gaurav to fill a form individually. So Gaurav will fill a form wherein he will write about his last 3 months of achievement, which on submission will go to his manager. Now manager will just review that particular form and validate whether Gaurav has done all those things and his performance is up to the desired level or not. if there are certain amount of discrepancies in that, so it will be sent back to Gaurav and a physical discussion would be called in. So the physical discussion can happen over a phone, the physical discussion can happen face to face. Okay, and thereafter the probation confirmation of Gaurav happens on the system itself. Now once Gaurav is confirmed, on completion of 12 months in this system, again, an auto trigger email goes to Gaurav to complete his performance appraisal for the last year that he has worked. Now Gaurav does a self-assessment. It automatically flows into his manager. The manager approves the self-assessment of Gaurav. It flows into the skip level manager of Gaurav, and the business head or the country head or the national sales head approves whatever the goal or the appraisal done by Gaurav, validated by his immediate manager. So the notification comes to HR that, okay, fine, Gaurav has done this. This is his final rating on a scale of 5. You please release his appraisal letter. So on what we do in HR is we look at the percentage. So for example, on a scale of 5, Gaurav has got a 4 rating, which is above exceed expectation. And exceed expectation, a certain percentage is fixed for the grade he's working at. So we would put that particular percentage, and an automated mail will flow into Gaurav's email ID that, hey Gaurav, this is your appraisal letter, and congratulations, you have been given this much percentage of increase. Okay, so this is how AI and machine learning is working in HR in the organization. I just wanted to give all of you an overview. So a lot more to come. In fact, this is just something that we are following. So there was a question by Sangram. Is your organization using ML to develop some customization for new employee training? Yes. So Sangram, what has happened for us is there is something called as, in the ERP that we have, the HR ERP, we have something called as LMS. LMS is your learning management system. So learning management system is a platform wherein I, as an organization, can go and upload anything. Okay, so I can upload any content, any video, like the video we saw of KIIT, I can go and update any such amount of videos. Now, you will see in my subsequent slide, what is happening is there's something called as self-learning, which has started happening. Okay, so I, as an individual, I, as Sangram, is no more dependent on a training manager to come or send me an invite for a training program. So now the days have reached to a level where an organization has some customized programs. Okay, we call it off-the-shelf programs. These are available. Okay, and all you need to do is you will have your user ID and password. You need to go. It's like a course from Coursera. How many of you have heard about this Coursera? Yeah. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
it's similar to
Also completed courses.
Sorry? Yeah, so it is as good as Coursera. Okay, all you need to do is use your login ID and password, get into that, and pick up any of the subjects that you want to read or strengthen yourself on. Okay, and these are called as self-learned modules or self-practice modules. Okay, so this is how the organizations are working currently. Okay, so I think I have all these stuffs covered. Okay, taking you back to my presentation. So I think one more important thing here is data privacy. Okay, so has anybody heard about this terminologies, GDPR or PDP? Guys, anybody heard about GDPR? Okay, so GDPR is, so I'm giving all these jargons to you. Okay, so cloud sourcing and all those things, you just need to go back and read through. These are simply available on Google. Just read, because these are very, very relative terms when it comes to AI or machine learning. Okay, so GDPR and PDP are two subjects which are related to data protection. Now, what is happening is, for example, Sangram has applied for a job, okay, in my organization. Now, out of curiosity, he shares all his information on the CV that he has. Okay, so he talks about his name, his father's name, his date of birth. Okay, and if I happen to roll out an offer to Sangram, he will further share his PAN card details, his bank account details with me. Okay, so now there could be a possibility that I have stored all those data in my laptop, and suddenly my laptop is being stolen. So anybody who steals my laptop would have access to Sangram's PAN card details, his all bank account details. Okay, and now the situations are so bad that people are able to hack bank accounts. You know what is happening in the cyber crimes and all. So GDPR is a law which is being introduced in the European countries. It's called as Global Data Protection Regulation. Okay, you can browse about GDPR. So GDPR, all the European countries are GDPR compliant. Okay, so for example, if I am also hiring an expat, I need to sign a basic GDPR declaration that I will not share any such personal information related to that individual with anyone. Okay, and there's a GDPR declaration which has to be signed by the individual and the organization that they will not share any of their employees' individual information with anyone. So India is also at the helm of adopting something. So India has already tabled, in fact, it was supposed to be tabled, it was supposed to become a law from a bill this year, March, but it is unfortunately because of this COVID thing, it is still in a bill form. So PDP is the bill which has been tabled in Indian Parliament. It is called as Personal Data Protection Bill, which is soon going to become a law. So what it would mean is there would be severe restrictions on any organization or any employee to share and capture the data of any individual. So for example, I cannot ask for details related to your bank account savings. Okay, so earlier, for example, in the interviews, you would have heard that people were asked about what is the kind of savings you have had, what kind of family background do you have lands, do you have wealth, do you have gold, and all these things. So now all these things are going to be restricted and monitored, and there would be only very limited access of personal information which each of us would have for any employee that we are going to have in the organization. So with positive things comes a lot of negative things also. So that's the reason, in fact, now just imagine a scenario, all your things are, for example, Mr. Modi is linking everything related to your Aadhaar. Okay, so if somebody has your Aadhaar card number, he or she would have access to all the relative information about you. Okay, which would include your bank account, driving license, your family details, your residential address. So what kind of potential cyber threat or cyber crime is possible? Right, so I would want you to go back and study about this GDPR and PDP bill as well.
Sir?
Yes, please.
Sir, does that GDPR refer to the online contracts? Because I've read somewhere in Google that blockchain is used for the online contracts between two people or two organizations. So
Yeah,
does
so
that?
yeah. So GDPR is applicable to any online contract or any sharing of information between two individuals or two organizations. Okay. So because in contract also, so for example, there is a contract which I am signing with Gaurav. Okay, it's an employment contract, let's say, or a service contract. Okay, so for example, I am using your services or your firm services for something, and I would ask some basic details about your service. Okay, or your firm, for example, your firm's PAN number, TIN number, GST registration. So those all are very, very private information related to you. So that's the reason it is applicable to all such contracts as well. In fact, for our organization, we have hired Deloitte. So Deloitte is helping us, in fact, to work around. So all the functions, it is not only in HR. So for example, from HR, I was asked that what kind of information I'm actually capturing. So the norm says that I can't even take a printout of the CV of the employee and keep it in my drawer, because God forbid if somebody opens the drawer and the CV is being taken away. So all the personal information of that particular individual travels. Similarly, this is applicable to marketing function. Okay, so marketing has, so for example, we have our customers. Okay, we have a lot of customers who buy our product. So the marketing team would have access to their email IDs and mobile numbers. And you understand the kind of junk messages that we get. So anybody who gets those messages or the mobile numbers or the email IDs of that particular individual, that becomes a huge bomb of database for that particular company or the individual. Okay, so the purchase function. So purchase is the function which buys materials for the organization. Now, if assuming the data of the purchase is leaked in the market, so all our all our companies from which we are buying the materials will get leaked, and people would know what rate we are buying and all those things. Okay, so this is a very critical subject, and this is going to have more importance in the days to come.
Sir, right now the law has not been passed. So, what are these? Is there anything that in India that companies are doing to protect this, the information of the employees or the new
Yes, so I think
person
it is
public?
already in a bill form, and right now we, in India, things take time to adapt. Okay, so people are, so right now we are in a information or a understanding stage, and I think the more organization becomes serious about it. Okay, so you've already heard about companies being uh, given or sued for sharing of their information of the stakeholders or the shareholders. So I think in India we are still at a primitive stage, and as this bill becomes a law, things will become more stringent for us. Great. Right. So can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
perfect. Okay, so now quickly, I have a couple of slides, so I just want to rush through, because otherwise we'll not be able to complete it. Okay, so this is how the journey of talent acquisition function. I think talent acquisition is one of the major functions of HR. So this is how it has also evolved with the invent of automation and data. So initially in 1940s, we were using typewriters, okay, and there were job advertisements which were given. 1980 was the time when technology had hit the talent acquisition. We started talking about the RPOs or the application tracking systems. And now 2000 onwards is the time when we have started talking about the social media or the employer branding or hiring people through social media. Now, this is also on the impact of AI or ML on HR. Okay, so we in organizations talk of something called as robotic process automation. So RPA. So IBM Watson, somebody talked all. So IBM Watson also works on the similar terminology. So the software bots are actually taking over the jobs which are being done by individuals. Like for example, I talked about the payroll process, I talked about the compliance process, or I talked about the talent acquisition process. The second thing where AI or ML is going to help us in HR is the predictive analytics. Okay, so AI and with predictive analytics, we are able to see. So for example, just giving an example, if I start looking, yeah, so if I start looking at the screen time of each individual of my organization, okay, or if there is a system which starts observing the screen time of all individuals, so with that particular data, I would be able to evaluate that how many times my employee is going onto a social media site, say like LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook. What has been his productive time out of this? How many times the individual has visited the site like Naukri? Okay, or how many times the individual is doing something which is not desired at his end. Okay, with this I can actually predict whether the person is engaged, not engaged, or super engaged in the organization or the work that he's doing. So we actually are doing predictive analysis of the attrition trends also. Okay, so for example, if somebody I will talk about it. There's the bot which we use, okay, which chats with the employees. Now this bot actually chats with the employees. So let me just take you through that. That will help you understand. One second. Okay, so this is something which we use in our organization. Okay, this is part of the HR ERP. So every day morning when you enter the office, okay, there's a survey which is being asked to you. Okay, and you have to rate your mood for that particular day. You will have to tell whether you are sad, you're very happy, you're super excited, and based on this, the bot actually or the system throws up analysis to the HR team that this particular individual or this particular lady has been consistently in a bad mood for the last 15 days. And that's a good trigger for us to go back and check with the individual that if everything is all right. So there have been cases wherein we have been able to find out that our individual has been constantly punching bad mood for 15 days. And it is the outcome of something which has happened with his or her immediate manager. So there's a performance conversation has happened with the individual and his manager. The employee is not very satisfied with the kind of conversation he or she had with his manager, and that's why this person is consistently in a bad mood for last 15 days. Now these could be the possible triggers for an individual to search or start looking out. The next thing is what we are using is a HR chatbot. So you can actually Google about this company. There's a company called Infido, so which actually has this bot called Amber. So now Amber is a chatbot that we use in our organization. So Amber actually chats with all the employees on a regular basis and just capture what is happening around this individual. Yeah, isn't it interesting? Have you heard about this bot called Amber? Yeah, so I think you should
No,
go.
sir.
Yeah. Anybody wants to share anything or? So have you heard about this bot called Amber? You can actually go back and Google for this company called Infido. Infido is a tech company which was started by a young entrepreneur like you. And this guy has actually revolutionized the entire life of an HR folk. So now we have bots. So for example, if you would have gone on to a net banking site of ICICI, there is a bot which chats to you that what kind of services do you want to look for? You want to apply for a home loan, credit card, or whatever. So similar ways, we are actually using a bot to chat with an employee. So the bot chats with an employee. How are you feeling today? What was your discussion with your manager? Last 15 days after you joined the organization, has HR interacted with you or not? Right. So this is how the life of HRs and the people are changing in organizations. Great. Now, moving on, I think with the automation and ML, what we have talked so much. So this is how the world or the work trends globally going to be. I think some of it actually got covered in the video that you played. Okay, so we are now going to have a 24/7 workforce. Okay, so there's not going to be a 9 to 6 job timelines or a job. A lot of entrepreneurial skill sets and ventures are going to come up. Okay, we have already started seeing flood of these startups. A lot of flexibility is going to come in the way you used to work. So there would not be any boundaries. So for example, if you want to work, you don't need to come to office every day, or you don't need to travel a certain distance. Technology is the backbone for the entire thing. There's a lot which is going to happen around the diversity, not only the gender diversity, but diversity in terms of the kind of people that you will work with. And your social responsibility, I think this is the why part. Okay, why an individual is working for the organization will become more important than the how part. This is how the organizations are going to change in the days to come. So I think you all heard and your students already shared about all these things. So there's a lot of diversity which is going to come into picture. The organizations are going to be flatter. The bureaucratic setups and the systems will go away. This is a very favorite term of mine. I call it invisible HR or HR self-services. So you would very soon have very less of HR people available. So everything would be taken over by the bots who will interact with you. Things will become more transparent. Your culture will become your brand. Okay, so the way you actually benefit, the kind of benefits that you provide, or the way you treat people is going to be your brand. And you will have multi-generational brand ambassadors. So this is already prevalent in the organization. So we have baby boomers, we have Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z now working for organization. So we will have multi-generational people working for the organization. Right. So what does it mean for the employee? I think some of you also talked about it in the video that that was played. So the future of work is going to be very, very competitive. I think it's again going to take us back to the Darwin's theory, which says survival of the fittest. Okay. There would not be any excuse for not knowing things. Okay. So everything would be available on a click of a button. So you would not be able to give an excuse that I don't know or I am not aware of this. Talent mobility will be not a challenge. Okay, so you can sit from anywhere and do any kind of jobs that you want to do. Crowdsourcing we already talked of. Now nobody is going to give or guarantee you a lifetime career. Okay, so it will all dependent upon what kind of career progression you decide, or you depending upon the skill set or the upskilling that you have for yourself. There will be a lot of projects wherein the top talent of the organizations sitting across the world come together and work. And location, your physical location will not matter. So for example, you can actually work for any of the organizations sitting like I talked about, depending upon whatever you want to learn would be teach to you. A lot of learning will happen from your network or the people that you have in your network. A lot of learning will happen through voting and tagging. So if somebody reads something good, he or she will tag you and you will also go and read that. A lot of user generated content based learning will happen. So for example, if I want to learn today about AI and ML, I will go and Google and find out some content for myself and study about it. You will also learn a lot from the social medias. Right. And I think this is a slide which is very critical. So this was a study which was released by World Economic Forum, and this talks about 2022 skills. So some of the skills which are growing and some of the skills which are going to decline by the year 2022. So you can clearly look at the skills which are growing, which will include skills like analytical thinking, innovation, active learning, learning strategies, creativity, technology, design, programming, critical thinking, complex problem solving, emotional intelligence, system analysis, and evolution. Right, guys. So I think I have bored you enough with enough gyan. Yeah, Professor Sikta. So I think I am done with my presentation. So I don't know how you felt
Not
it.
exactly, sir. It was really, really insightful, I must say. Means most of the things, even I also get to have a learning. As you know that during this COVID times, all of us has been pushed into a situation that even if most of us have an intent or they don't have an intent, but they are bound to have certain amount of technical expertise.
Right. So I think
So,
I'm
with that, so we can have our group discussion.
2 minutes.
So,
There are
Prachi, I would request that on that basis of that, how further we can take it.
Sikta, 2 minutes. There are two questions I would want to address that first. So Nazia is asking, HR personals were always known to be people's person. With the digitalization, human touch is reducing. So how do how do we know how much of digitalization is necessary? So Nazia, good question. In fact, this is the need of the hour also. Right. I think COVID has taught us one very good lesson, that physical and emotional connect with individuals is very, very important. However, technology or AI or ML we might have in our lives. So there would be certain amount of jobs which will a bot never be able to do. So for example, if you are the functional head, the kind of welcome that, or the kind of uh, connect that you can have as an HR. Okay, so for example, you're a talent acquisition head or you are a HR head of the organization. The way you could have connected with an employee, a bot would never be able to do it. So the employee would also look for that emotional and that softer connect. So AI or ML or bots would only be able to help you do your operational jobs, but they would never be able to replace the human touch that is there in the jobs of the organization. So I think uh, it's not going to be, so humans are not going to be replaced by bots, that's for sure. There would be certainly some amount of human touch or emotional connect which would be which will continue to exist in the organizations. I hope I could answer that.
Yes, sir.
Dipan has asked, don't you think chatbots are less effective? Dipan, I want to hear from you. Why do you think so? Why are chatbots less effective?
Sir, I have been a part of because I have seen it in many cases, the chatbots, and especially I remember interview with Cave Gemini when I was in my office days, corporate life. So there I felt that what their questions are. The simple question here is it's completely pre-structured. So you might have a different question when you're talking with an HR or when they are calling you out. Your questions may be very different from what chat boxes are. I mean, the questions that they are asking. It's major. Obviously, they are mainly close-ended questions and completely pre-structured. So the questions may differ from what you want to understand and what they are asking. Trust me, sir. I don't want to take again the name, but again the company which has an interview. It was a telephonic interview. Actually, it was not an interview. Rather, it was just about some calls or something. So it was completely chat box. So chat bots were there. So I completely felt it very less understand what they wanted to ask and what I should reply. I have no clue because I had to answer something and I have no clue what should I answer. So, and again, at that time may not be so much tech savvy to understand or talk about such point, but yeah, it was.
So I think welcome to the new normal, and that's going to be the new normal for all of us to go.
Sir, it is a new
So
normal now,
just to answer,
sir, I'm talking about at least 1.5 years back. So
yeah,
it was that was quite challenging, sir. Sir, and I always feel.
let me just come.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, what you felt?
Sir, what I felt regarding HR is, sir, it should be always an interactive things. Even nowadays, we'll be going through placements, and some days I was talking to my placement officer regarding that, because the virtual will never help you to understood what you are doing, and corporate life can never be at home. It cannot be. So those are the few things which I felt that we need to be addressed, and obviously technical cannot. I mean chatbots or those technical things will not help to understand a person much. So it has to be a bit physical,
Right.
or at least partially physical.
Dipan, just to answer you, chatbots are not going to take over the entire HR jobs. Okay, so there are organizations which has larger manpower. Okay, so for example, companies like your Accenture, TCS, okay, EY, these people have 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 plus people in the organization. And typically, if you look at the strength of HR, so a HR business partner is typically responsible to handle, in a ideal situation, the HR business partner is responsible to handle 1,000 to 1,500, 2,000 odd people. Now, typically for a HR business partner, it is practically not possible to connect with all the 1,500 people or 2,000 people on a regular basis. So for example, the first person and the 1,500 person will only get connected if I, as a HR business partner, also start calling people. How many calls would I be able to do in a day? 10 calls. So that means the 1,500 person would only get my next call after 6 months. So that is the reason the organizations are balancing it out with the introduction of chatbots. Now, what organizations are deploying chatbot is for interacting with the new joiners. So for example, you are a new joiner, and for understanding your experience of the organization for 30, 60 and the 90 days, a chatbot will connect with you. And whatever responses you put in the chatbot, the entire response list would go to the HR folks. And we would actually study that, okay, fine, we have interacted with Dipayan and Dipayan has registered these things. Okay, but chatbot also cannot perform beyond a certain level. Okay, so if you ask some random questions to chatbot, it will say, thank you, Dipayan, for asking this. We will check and come back to you. So it also has its limitations. For example, a chatbot could only ask you certain questions. With a Dipayan, after you joining, you have got your visiting cards, you have got your laptop, you have got the required induction training. Have you been told about your job responsibilities? Do you understand what is expected out of you? Did you had a conversation with your immediate manager? Yes or no? So these 5 set of questions. But if you start, Dipayan starts asking that, please tell me the appraisal percentage, or what is the kind of performance appraisal mechanism that you have, or is it a bell curve mode, or it is a MBO or a balance scorecard, the system will not be able to tell. So chatbots are only used to gather mass information so that we can actually look at the information and process it quickly. Okay, it is never used to or it can never duplicate what a HR person will do. Right. Sonali has written something. Sonali, if you can just read it out.
So my question is, what kind of deep learning problems that an HR is encountered, and how can we handle them? And now more than ever, employees would have to be more adaptable. How the organization is preparing the staff for the future with regards to essential jobs, capacity building, upscaling in post-COVID.
Your voice is not audible.
So just let me try once. She's asking what kind of deep learning problems that an HR is encountering and how can we handle them, and now more than ever employees would have to be more adaptable. How the organization is preparing the staff for the future with regards to essential for job skills and capacity building for upskilling in post-COVID era?
My God, you have asked a very difficult question. I don't have an answer. Okay, so I think organizations are preparing or upskilling people by training them. One is like Dipayan mentioned, people are not used to this virtual working. So for example, we are a sales organization. Now for a sales organization, a sales guy, if he or she is not in the market or not interacting with the customer on the field, then it would not make any sense to us. So what we as an organization are using technology to help them is, for example, now we have trained them on doing your Zoom meetings, okay, with the customers. We have a platform called as CRM, okay. CRM, you would have heard about a platform called Salesforce. Salesforce is a CRM platform. Now Salesforce, we are using the platforms like CRM or a Salesforce platform to have these sales guys do their things virtually. Okay, and I think before the COVID era, people were not even prepared. So a sales guy always thought that IT is not my cup of tea. I would never, beyond a certain exposure to IT, beyond writing emails or beyond preparing my presentation or the spreadsheets, I will never be able to use the IT systems. Okay, or I am never expected to use the IT systems. So I think the change of mindset is first thing that HR is driving. Okay, that this COVID is here to stay, and the sooner you adopt to these kind of things, the better it is going to be for us. And this is something which, so first we have actually trained people on the changing their mindsets, and second we are helping them to upskill themselves to become more effective on a virtual platform. Okay, so how are marketing? So now, for example, a lot of money was spent on marketing, on creating ads or advertisement in newspapers or print medias. But now we are actually indulging all that money to focus more on digital, or to focus more on platforms on like social media. So I think this is how the entire mindset shift or the capability. Now, if you are to, so your marketing guys were more equipped to prepare contents or like for print media or television ads. Now suddenly you ask them to prepare campaigns which are to be run virtually or on social media platform. Now there's a significant skill set shift. So these are the areas that you will have to individually look at the departments and help them gear up for that particular area. I hope I could make some sense.
So the next question is, what are the skill set required for an AI-driven workspace?
So there is no skill set that you need to learn as such. Okay, it is all AI and ML is all about technology and adoption of technology. Until otherwise you want to become a technology specialist who would want to write codes and decodes or programs. If you want to build your career in HR or any other field or profession like a marketing or a supply chain, you don't need to have hardcore AI skills. Okay, so AI is a technology which is going to impact your life. So you need to be adopting those technologies rather than preparing, because nobody in the organization will ask you to prepare a bot. Okay, so nobody will ask Gaurav to make a robot which will function on the behalf of the supply chain function or the HR function. So all you need to do is you should be open enough to adopt those technologies, because until otherwise you are an IT folk or you're a developer, you are not going to be needing some different skill sets for adopting AI.
So the next question is put forward by Gaurav Das, and he's asking, with the introduction of AI, won't there be lower paid jobs? So the labor skills will be reduced and thus will face loss of jobs.
Yeah, so Gaurav, good question. I think this is one of the things which are being equally debated at all the forums. Okay, so with the advent of AI and with the advent of ML, a lot of jobs are going to be cut. So this, if you look at this particular scenario from other side, okay, now going forward there would be only two types of organizations or industries which are going to exist. Okay, one is which will be heavily automated, and second is which will be highly human driven. Okay, so the organizations which are human driven or which are not process oriented will continue to use your laborers. Okay, and there would not be any loss of job. But organizations which will want to focus on efficiencies or automation, they will introduce AI, and therein they will also, with the introduction of AI, they will also upskill their employees. They will not leave them that you are not, or you have become redundant, so we don't require you. So for example, with the introduction of technology now, for example, Maruti or any other automobile company now, earlier these were all manual, the lines were all manual. So they have introduced automated lines. Along with the introduction of automated lines, they have also upskilled their employees or trained the employees to work on those automated lines. They have not like laid off all the employees and asked them to go, because for running at some point of time you would also need a human intervention, or you would need a operator to press a button and stop the button also for the line. So I think it is not going to take away all the jobs, but yes, what it will push all of us is to constantly upskill ourselves or keep learning continuously. Okay, because I cannot go back and sit and say that, okay, fine, I've reached to a level now, this is the end of world and I will sustain here for next 30 years of my career. That's not going to happen tomorrow. So this is like you studying in KIIT. So along with you, there are some 36,000 universities which produce MBA students. So you're going to compete with 16 to 36,000 university students, okay, when you pass out from your college. Now, if you don't upgrade your skills on a constant basis, so you can imagine what is going to happen to you. So the same scenario, in fact.
Thank you, sir.
I did not want to otherwise. Just a food for thought, in fact, because this is something which actually has kept me driving, that I always believe that what is the universe that I'm competing with, and how I need to be better from them, or what would I need to learn so that I can like do better than whatever peer group that I have. And in fact, this has been the driving force for me all this 16 years. Okay, believe you me, in fact. Yes, please.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is talking about many of the current middleweight jobs are getting dominated by the incorporation of the automated activities, such as in the manufacturing or in accounting, which are likely to decline. Is AI complement for decision-making high-level jobs and substitute for the middle-level jobs?
So AI can actually AI can complement the decision-making, but AI cannot substitute for a middle-level job. Why? Because so, for example, taking an example of the performance management system. Now we have a intuitive system or a HR ERP which would actually tell me about the target versus achievement of an individual, a sales guy, okay, on a month-to-month basis at the time of appraisal. It will also tell me that how many times. So for example, if I have to evaluate a person at the end of the year, so I would look at the target versus achievement for that particular individual. I would also look at how this individual has behaved, or what kind of recommendation he has had from his peer group, his managers, or the people he's working with, whether he has been appreciated for his work, has he contributed something differently for the organization. Now AI will only help me in making those decisions, but AI would not tell me that this guy has to be rated 4. Ultimately, the final outcome of rating that particular individual is still remaining with the people who are at the decision making levels or the leadership team. So AI will only help in the decision making. There would be only certain kind of jobs where AI can actually make a decision. So for example, I was just interacting a friend of mine who heads the HR for a legal firm. Now he was sharing that AI actually has started contributing in the legal in a big way. So cases, depending upon the criticality or the impact of the case on an individual or the culprit, AI has started projecting or bringing in cases which are going to impact the lives of many people. So AI has started actually popping up those cases to the judges to take faster decisions. So it will help you in decision making, or it will pop you those things, but it can never substitute the decision making on its own or organization. So a CEO cannot be replaced by a bot or a machine. Okay, a CEO will continue to lead the organization by being physically present there. Okay, no promoter or none of the organization will employ IBM Watson to do a CEO's job or a marketing head's job.
Thank you, sir, for the insights. Sir, Sakshi Sinha is asking, as you said that all these advancements are leading to reduction in HR careers available in the organization, so it means that the people who are specializing in HR won't get jobs in future, and there will be a lot of competition in the market. So will it be a good career option to look for HR roles in the company in the near future?
Sakshi, good that you're thinking this way, and I actually am glad I could scare you this way, and scare in a positive way that you started asking this question at least.
I have another question that there's a lot of competition. So what skills do we need to develop to get through this?
Right. So Sakshi, if you look at the HR jobs, okay, so what are the jobs of HR in an organization? So one, HR does talent acquisition. Second, once the person is on board, HR does the entire life cycle management. Third, HR is responsible for the entire talent management and learning and development piece. Okay. Fourth, HR is responsible for creating career paths for that particular individuals. Now, talent acquisition is one job. For example, there would always be a need. So a person, the entire process of talent acquisition can be automated, but hiring or looking at that person from a culture fit aspect. Okay. So whether Sakshi is a culture fit. So for example, I work for a traditional manufacturing company. Now, if I go to hire somebody for my organization, there would be certain culture fit elements which I will look at. Okay, so I would not prefer to hire somebody who comes from a very, very flashy or a flamboyant background. I would not prefer to hire somebody who would not tomorrow value his or her job. Rather, I would prefer to hire somebody who has the need for that particular job. Now, these culture elements, the bot will never be able to understand. Okay, so why do we ask questions like, what is your family background? What is your career goal? What is your ambition? And we look at your eyes is to see how much of passion or how much of enthusiasm or how much of commitment within yourself you have for that particular career goal or objective. Now, a robot cannot do that. So you would always need a HR professional to do that particular job, number one. Number two is the entire talent management piece. Now, talent management piece is you as an HR professional is also responsible for driving people's career who work for you. Okay. Now, a robot can only prompt Sakshi that, okay, fine, today a supply chain executive can get into a operations manager job, or the person can get into a XYZ role. But whether the person has the right kind of skill set or the right kind of mentality or the right kind of attitude could also be judged by a human only. So for example, so when you look at a career advancement or a succession planning, okay, these are terminologies which HR use. Okay, so if I have to look, so how a talent management program runs in an organization is we identify some critical roles which are very, very critical for an organization to run the organization. We would look at the person, that how is this current person? If he leaves, who is the internal successor available? Now, assessment of that internal successor, a AI or a chatbot or a robot can only give you the dimensions, or like I mentioned, the data points to look at XYZ individual. But you as an HR professional will also have to look that the person is somebody who is a team player, he's a collaborative person, he has a vision, he has a career goal, and he can actually influence people. So how somebody talks, AI can only record and register, but the AI would not be able to tell that whether based on that particular thing that this person is a team player, this person is not a team player. So those elements will continue to be done by the HR folks only. So there would be certain amount of jobs, okay, like I repeatedly mentioning, all the repeated nature jobs, okay, the jobs which are no-brainer jobs, okay, which are like filling up data forms, okay, moving data from an Excel sheet to another Excel sheet. Okay, all those jobs which are repetitive in nature, which are no-brainer jobs, will be taken away by bots. But jobs which require human intelligence or emotional intelligence will be continued to be done by human beings. So you don't need to get scared. All you need to focus is the jobs which would require human intervention. So for example, the way a human trainer, okay, the way we are interacting, okay, so for example, in my place, a bot would have been interacting with you. So it would have only said yes or no to you. Okay, so you would also have to identify what kind of jobs would impact people, or what kind of jobs which will help you stay connected. So for example, a HR business partner's job will never get impacted by whatever bots you employ in the organization, because a HR business partner's job is to work closely with the sales team, understand their problems, help them find a solution. Great.
Thank you, sir. So I think that question would have wandered in the minds of a lot of people over here. So the next question is put forward by Ajula, and she's asking how HRM will help to build up the psychological aspect of human beings. Apart from sharing data, how AI will help to motivate an individual in an organization?
Let me clarify one thing. AI cannot help in anything and everything in the organization. Okay, so motivation is again the job of human beings. A robot can only put good words to you or say thank you and welcome to you, but it would never be able to motivate you. Okay, so imagine, for example, today I say that instead I replace your parents by a robot. So what will happen to you? Okay, you will never accept those kind of things. Tomorrow I say that I replace all your friends by robots. You start interacting. Deepan is already laughing. You start interacting with robots. You will have problems. Go discuss with a robot, and the robot will tell you the solutions. So there are some things which are never going to happen, and even if it happens, we as individuals or human beings are never going to accept it. So I think everything in an organization will not be left to a robot. So is the case with motivation. I think motivation is very, very softer aspect, which none of the organization. So motivation is very closely linked to the engagement of an employee. Okay, so engagement, if you read employee engagement, what is engagement? So engagement has two things in it. One is a discretionary effort, and second is an emotional commitment. So discretionary effort is an outcome of emotional connect. Okay, so अगर मैं दिल से organization से connected हूँ, if I'm connected with the organization beyond my salary or beyond my job role, and my why part, that मैं क्यों इस company में काम कर रहा हूँ, because I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to achieve something in my society. That why part is there, so automatically you will do a discretionary effort, which would mean that you would do something which is out of your job role, which is not there in your job description. Up, हमेशा you will strive for something better. You will try to innovate in whatever you're trying to do. So I think those finer elements will never be replaced, or can never be replaced by any bots or any AIs of the world. That's how I believe it.
Absolutely right, sir. So the next question is put forward by Avinash Mohini, and this is a very interesting one.
Laughing, her efforts to have a GD has failed, and I have ensured it fails. Right, ma'am. Sorry for this. But I have a couple of questions I would want to hear. I hope if we extend by another 15-20 minutes, there's no issue in it. Yeah, because I want to hear the students on a couple of things. So after you finish your questions, I have a couple of set of questions.
Okay, sir. So here comes one interesting one. Does AI into the workspace help reducing favoritism in the organization? What is your take?
Yeah, very much. So I think this is something which we are actually relying AI for. Okay, so for example, giving you a live example. Okay, so for example, if I have to take a appraisal decision, okay, or a promotion decision of any particular individual. Now, one of the elements which goes into looking at a person to be promoted, yes or no, is his past data. So if systems like AI or ML or data analytics are available in the organization, to a very large extent, I would be able to curtail the favoritism. So for example, there are two gentlemen. Okay, one has been a constant performer, the other has been a non-performer. But by virtue of somebody who is a non-performer having a godfather in the company, would only grow to a certain level. But if you go to the HR, or you have your data points ready, and if you present that this person, if you see last 3 years, he has been constantly delivering on his numbers, he has been appreciated by the customers, this person has been appreciated by his internal peer group also, because we have these internal platforms where I can go and appreciate any of my colleagues, and those appreciations gets recorded. So we also look at the appraisal times, that how social this person is within the organization, how engaged this person is within the organization. So if I do a clear-cut comparison on the data points, it would certainly kill the favoritism. And I think this is how the entire data analytics or AI or ML or the automation piece is impacting. Now, what we also do in performance appraisal is we all leave it to the organization and the individuals, okay, to fill in their goals and KRAs. And the system on its own evaluates and throw up a rating for that particular individual. And only in very rare cases, we actually change those ratings which are being thrown up by the system, because those ratings are based on the target versus achievement of that particular individual. And almost in 95% of the cases, those ratings are accurate, because the system doesn't have a heart to think. It will only look at the numbers, it will look at the target versus achievement and throw. Okay, so the chance or the opportunity for favoritism is very, very marginal. And only in few cases where, for example, I have been rated 4 by the system and my manager reduces it to 3. So we as HR go and question the manager that what are the reasons. Please tell us the behavioral dimensions. Why have you reduced the rating of that particular individuals? So you will also have your data points ready to question the manager.
Thank you so much, sir. The next question is by Nazia, and she's asking, how can we redesign our resume to get through automated screening processes which might be looking for certain keywords fitted into it?
What is that? I missed it. Sorry. How can we read?
She's asking, how can we design our resume so that the automated screening process would not reject our resume with reference to the keywords which is being fed into it?
Yeah, in fact, a very good question. I was talking to somebody yesterday on the entire campus hiring piece, and this was another guy who works in HR, and we were debating that how do we go about the campus hiring thing this year. So he mentioned something which is very interesting to me. So he talked about 3 P's in the campus hiring to come. Okay, one, the first P is the place. Now the place for campus hirings have changed. Okay, so now the place from for a campus visit from on-site has become from visiting a campus physically, it has become a digital thing. Okay, so we are no more going to be visiting campuses till the time that things get reduced. The second is the way the entire pre-placement talks were happening is going to change. Okay, so I think organizations are going to use a lot of digital platforms because neither do we have budgets, nor I would want in the interest of the organization want a senior leader to travel, because there is a lot of cost involved, and when the markets are not doing good, you're not earning your revenues, so you would not want to spend also. So, and third is it is going to increase the reach also. So if I today connect with 6-7 campus, or I am able to visit 6-7 campuses for my campus interviews, I can now connect with 100 campus and do the things virtually. So my reach will also increase. Now what will happen is the entire process will change. Okay, so for example, I might ask students to record their resumes, okay, or record a video record, and what is going to happen is, for example, I will give pre-scripted 3-4 questions to you, and I would ask you to read those questions and put your responses in a video format and send it to me, and I will look at that particular video to do a first level of screening. So one is you can start practicing, or you can already, so another way, in fact, I was reading a case study that there was a job which was so Airbnb actually had posted a job sometime back, and there were approximately around 2,000 applicants. Okay, now there were 2,000 applicants to that job on the job portal. Now what a lady finally happened to get that job. So what that lady did is, that lady connected with the CEO of Airbnb on Twitter. She prepared a 5-pointer deck. Okay, in one slide she had put 5 points why Airbnb should hire her, and she connected with the CEO on Twitter and forwarded this deck to the CEO. So this effort of that particular lady was actually something which was standing out from all the other 2,000 odd people who would have applied on the job portal and would have been waiting for the HRs to call. So now is the time when you need to actually outreach to your next employer, because I think by 2 years of your MBA, you would have a complete clarity on what kind of organizations you want to get into, what kind of jobs you want to do. So my advice to you would be to reach out to the HRs of these organizations, explore for, you might not need to wait for your placement committee to find an internship project for you. You can actually reach out to the organization and try for your internships or your employment directly. So I think that will also help you to connect with more people, and your possibilities or avenues for employment will also increase. Okay, so I think one is you can start recording something which will interest people, is you start recording a video resume for yourself and try it sending to 1 or 2 places. I think people are going to appreciate that only.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, ma'am is asking that we can start the GD views and we can take up the questions later over mail. Is it possible for you? Yeah.
Right. I have 2-3 questions I want to hear from people. Okay. So, Sikta, how do you want to do it? Okay. So first is AI. Okay, I want to hear the pros and cons. So if at all there are some cons, because we have been already talking about pros, I want to hear on the cons of the introduction of AI in the organizations or the society? If somebody has any views.
Hello.
Yes, please. Yeah, continue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the one con that I think AI has is that it collects a lot of data from various sources, and that data, if proper security is not maintained in the organization, that data can be misused. And like for example, I heard Adobe implemented some cybersecurity solutions that only Adobe approved system can connect to the network. Those initiatives, if they are not taken properly, the data can be misused a lot.
Right. Yeah, very valid point. Any other views on pros and cons? Is it good, bad? Should be used, not should
Yeah.
be? Yeah, go ahead.
Uh,
Can you hear me properly? Hello?
Ashwini, your
Hello?
internet is unstable.
Am I,
Yes.
so is it okay now?
Yeah,
Clear?
You better. Please go ahead.
I can think of one thing is that like AI is taking the types of jobs that are like repetitive and more repetitive and easier kind of jobs like copying and something like that. So uh, that kind of jobs being taken away from people. I mean, okay, we can try to level up our skills and or try for different kind of job, but there are so many people around us. I mean, not all of us are able to. Not all are made equal. So I don't think all of us are able. All of us will be able to
Right.
reach that. So what I'm trying to say is that there always will be some people who will need that middle jobs, is the simpler jobs to earn their money, and they can't always reach those higher places. And so if they can't reach those higher places and they will not have those middle kind of jobs, then they will be in trouble. I mean, not everyone of us has the IQ of 100 and above, or they don't perform well in their educations. So that's what I think will be a problem if AI takes
Great.
all the middle kind of jobs.
Great. Yeah, I think very valid point. Yeah. Anybody wants to add anything?
So I want to add one point.
Yeah.
So this is Nivedita here. Sir, AI can't improve itself automatically like a human improve himself or herself by gaining experience. So, sir, obviously it can't replace a human. So it's a con that it can't gain experience.
Okay. Anybody else wants to add?
Sir, hello.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Are we?
Yeah. Go ahead, please. I can listen.
Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, I have a point that we know that AI features is quite costly, so its cost implementation is quite higher with respect to working with the humans. Uh, and another one is lack of creativity. As we know, our people can create every day by learning new things. They can create new systems, but in AI features, we can't upgrade day to day without updating it or by putting it out with new creativities.
Right. I think very valid, important point. So AI is on the affordability point. I think all the organizations would not be able to afford it. Also, so organizations which can only afford it are going to implement it, but others are going to continue the way they are functioning now and in the days to come. So I think that's the flip side.
Yeah.
Till the time, see what has also happened with this AI and all those things is there are two sectors in the where tech has started impacting with, from last 2 years. One is the education sector. I think last 2 years you have seen companies like all these Byju's, Robo Mantra, and all these things have started coming, which are actually automating the entire learning or the education sector. And the second area where technology has started impacting is the HR segment. So I think all this has started happening last 2 years only, but we have a long way to go. What has also happened for us is, see, all these testing phase, okay, very different testing phase. Some are at alpha, beta, and a gamma testing phase. But the actual impact of AI or the actual outcome is all predicted, or we are just hoping that it is going to help. Okay, so we are now in a testing phase, and I am sure in the days to come only will tell us how much right, how much wrong, or what kind of level or what percentage of automation you should have in a. So I think there's no fixed norm as of now that what is the kind of percentage of automation which is required in an organization. Okay, right. My next question is, I want to hear your views on is AI and a concept like machine learning. Uh, do you think that this is stopping people, the youngsters, to think out of the box? Or let's say, for example, you land up, or Gaurav lands up in an organization which has a lot of technology. So what will help him is technology will make his life easier, or will help him to do his job in a much easier way. But in one way, it is also impacting his thought process, his ability to challenge the status quo, his ability to innovate. So do you think it should happen, it should not happen, or we would still continue to think on our own ways? So what I intend to have here is, we want more of Bill Gates, we want more of Mark Zuckerberg, rather than becoming a slave to the technology. So what are your views on it?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Ashutosh.
Yes, sir. Sir, when we will implement new artificial intelligence, that will be something new. When a person will get into the organization and see that this is a something new thing, it will increase his or her curiosity. So he or she will try to learn new things, try to implement more, try to invent more, so we can get more Bill Gates as well in this process.
No, but you will try to do more, but will it stop you from learning or implementing, or you should not become a slave to it?
No, sir. We will never be a slave. We will try to something, means there is a technology. We will try to alter the technology. We will try to play with technology. We will try to try something new like this. Like mathematics, we try something new, how to solve the process, how to solve the problem like that.
So it's Andrila here.
Yeah, Andrila, please go ahead.
So I think if we get the answers of all our problems, then I think somewhere we will not able to create anything and think in our by ourselves, like in a deeper level. So if AI indulges us to be more automated, to have those coding structures and everything, but a country like India, where we are buying and we are importing more than exporting, then I think we need to have more technocrats who will think and create such stuffs in our country. So I think it's better to create and not to have answers to all problems. I think we need to build some of our own solutions.
Anybody else wants to contribute?
Sir, adding to Andrula's point only, sir, adding to Andrula's point, she has actually mentioned it pretty correctly. In a place like India, people are much more into laziness and lethargicness. So efficiency will be getting increased by AI. It will reduce the actual efficiency of a person. So obviously there should be a mix and match, and there will be a partial help from the technology and with the human intervention.
Okay, Ashutosh, you want to say something? Do you want to add?
Sir, AI will help us to reduce our mundane jobs or mundane daily activities. Will help us, but sir, necessity is the mother of invention. So we'll always have some problems or some possibilities. So as humans, we'll always have some or the other way to find new creative ways to tackle them. So.
Right, great.
Sir, I think AI leads us to stopping thinking of the hard work and leads us to the thinking of the smart work. So we can reduce that hard work thing, and we are thinking of the smart work.
Right, great. Yeah, Barsha, you wanted to say something.
Yes, sir. So AI will stop our thought process, because as we know, we actually don't intend to work, means we are not productive in our comfort zone.
Right.
So
So if I
AI is AI is pushing us towards our comfort zone.
Sir, I'd like to add one point, sir. Sir, the analyzing part is more within a human than our technology can help it out, sir. So its collection of data may be much more easier from an AI part or a bot part, but coming back to the point from a human being, sir, I think the data analysis part, that is much more important to understand what the data you have collected. So that is, I guess, in that case, the human intervention is much more higher with respect to any technology.
right. So I am.
Sir,
Yeah. Gaurav, please go ahead.
Sir, actually, with the introduction of AI, there will be more predictive analysis, and we can be more creative. Like we can know there are many problems to be solved in the entire, for example, in our country or in the world. So we can be more productive. We can say what are the issues faced in a daily on a daily basis. How can we improve that? How can we make people for a better in a better world?
Yeah, so I think very valid points. In fact, I was interacting with somebody. So one of my friend is a geoscientist for a German company and based out of Germany. So what this company does is they have their own satellite, and they actually partner with multiple countries. So for example, they're working for some African countries, and they're helping the farmers to predict by looking at the satellite pictures, predict about the monsoon and the right time for crop, like investing and the harvesting thing. So AI is also working. So people are using the technology to great extent. In fact, you and me don't even have clue of 100% things which are happening around it. So lot is happening around it. And I think AI can never replace the human minds. Otherwise, IIMs would not have opened from a 7 institute to a 16 institutes, or KIIT would not have been expanding. And so many people like you and me would not have taken admissions in MBA Institute. Rather, we would have got admissions in robotic courses. Okay, so I think AI technology can never replace a human mind. I have one more last interesting questions to ask. So this is for everyone. If you have to replace one thing in your home with robot, what will it be? Or IBM Watson has to come to your house. So what is the job expected out of IBM Watson at your house? Or if you have to replace one thing in your house with a robot or AI or ML, what will it be? Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, mid servant, sir.
Very good. Yeah, something more.
Sir, kitchen.
Okay. Somebody said kitchen. Yeah, what else?
Most probably putting him into a cleaning procedure inside the room and something like that.
Sir, my workstation.
Why workstation?
So that it can schedule the things that I have to do throughout the day and give me constant reminders that whether I'm being productive or not. It will help.
Okay, yeah, interesting one, Amok. Anybody else who has some interesting thoughts?
Sir, how
Who can be loyal and wipe my tears when I am depressed?
What is that? Wipe your tears when you're depressed and stop you from overthinking, huh?
Yes.
Sir, definitely one that can take away, that can do all the mundane jobs like cleaning, washing, or stuff like that, so that I would have more time to be productive and do more things that I love, or work more in my career part, so that I don't lose my time doing this normal chores and all.
This was the opportunity available. Everybody working from home would have had a bot by now, doing all the weeping and cleaning of utensils by now. So I so wish. Anything else? Any other interesting thing?
Voice assistant for all appliances.
What is that?
Voice assistance for all appliances. Like I can turn on any appliance from by using command.
Sir, I would like to have Internet of Things, so it will help me in many ways, not just one. It will help me in almost everything. which is mundane and I don't want to do.
Okay, fine. After all of you share, I would share my requirement. Yeah, Gaurav, please go ahead.
Sir, actually, I want to say that, like my friend Manoranjan said, whatever we say, whatever we give commands, they will just execute it. Like sitting in our bed, we can say, play the Netflix, play the movies, play the songs, take me on a drive in my car. So it can be done, sir, with the introduction of Tesla nowadays.
It can be done very much. So if I was asked this question, I would have asked for a bot which would have come work on my behalf in my company, and automatically on the 30th of every month, the money could have come to my account, and I would have just loved to travel around the world and speak to people like you. So I think if given a choice, that is what I would have loved to do. So thank you very much, guys. I think I loved interacting. I don't know what you guys felt, but I hope I have not bored you for last 2 hours. Or any feedback? How was this discussion? Any?
Thank you, sir, for much.
Sir, it was great.
Very much productive.
Very productive, sir.
It was very much productive, sir. You have much more insights that I could relate something from my corporate days as well. So it was much more.
Very nice. So I think I am available on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I can share my email ID also on the chat. So if you want to connect, speak, because I have gone through this phase, and if I can contribute by any means to your careers, that will be a great thing for me, in fact. So that's my email ID and my mobile number. So in case you want to have any help, support, or any thing that I could do for you, I would be more than happy. Right?
Thank you, sir.
Over to you. I don't know how I fare. But
thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir, for such a crisp, and you said the atmosphere was perfect for the audiences to enjoy. Really, it was an electrifying atmosphere. Now, I would request Professor Shikta Singh to give away with the vote of thanks. Ma'am, please.
So, ma'am,
the station has extended.
You have to call me and invite me to your campus so that I can interact with.
Sure, sir. I can sense that the session has extended, and it has taken beyond our time. They're closing to 1 o'clock. So that itself speaks about how engaging and how interactive the session has been. I think all of my students, they are also agreeing to it. And yes, of course, I personally also have got to learn so many things from you. And I would love to invite you, provided things are normalizing and coming back to our campus.
For sure, I would look forward. Thank you so very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So before we end, as we know that the time is very, very critical, very, all of us need to be stay safe at home. So just to have a prayer over the God Almighty, I would like to end with a small video and thanking Mr. Ashish Bhatt for taking all the pains. Yes, there were certain small amount of glitches here and there, but of course, since we are here in a graphical or a technical world, so
yeah. So before you end, I just want to speak 2-3 things. Okay.
Sure.
So first of all, I think very important is all of you are in a very competitive world. Okay. The thing which has not happened for me, I don't want it to be. So just be completely mindful about your career. You should have a complete roadmap for yourself, a blueprint for your career, where you want to be in next 3 years time, where you want to be in next 5 years time, and wherever you want to be in next 10 years time. I think this is the time. You guys are old, matured enough. You would be in the range of 18 to 19 to 20 years. I think you have enough of people available, or enough of role models available whom you would want to become like. So please fix up your goal or career goal or whatever goal post you have or you want to be. That is very important, because if you don't have a fixed goal post, then you will be all over the place. First thing. Second thing is, after fixing your goalpost, please try connecting with people whom you want to become like, or identify your role models. So your role model could be your father, who is very successful. Your role model could be anybody who is successful in a professional world. Even if you don't know that person, please reach out to that individual on a platform like a LinkedIn or a social media, because I think it is very, very important for us to have the right people in our company. If you roam around with wrong people, you are destined to become a failure. If you have a company of right people, you will always become successful. That's been a firm belief. Number 3, never stop learning. So whatever, believe you me, in fact, is being taught in the textbooks, I am using all those things after 10 years or 15 years in my career still now. So please don't leave your textbooks even after your MBA institute, or don't leave learning to whatever level you grow at. Number 4, very important, is stay grounded. However successful you might be, but it is very important, the success should not hit your head. The day success hits your head, you stop learning and you stop appreciating good things. So thank you very much, Professor Sikta, and everybody. I think I loved interacting with all of you.
So
All
much, sir.
very, very,
Pleasure was all ours.
all the
And
very
thank
best.
you, my team. Prachi, thank you. Thank you, Manoranjan, and thank you all of your students for your active participation.
Yeah. Thank you, Sikta, and thank you guys, all the very best, and keep doing good. Okay, I want all of you to be successful.
Thank you, sir.
That's my.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.